your heart. But here's what's cool about height number. You now know what it means. If you just think height number, your heart rate will already start to slow down a little bit. Now, some of you in here, if you're like me, you're going to have to concentrate on, slow down a little bit there. Let me get back down to my ideal height number that I'm at my best with. All you have to do is turn on the television. You can watch a professional baseball. Can you watch any professional game? Professional baseball, I see it every single night. I love baseball, right? I see that picture. Here you go. And here he comes. All right? I can see the hitter doing the same thing. Take a deep breath. Think about how that applies to you. That deep breath. You know, I think about this in terms of, power. I think about the football team, the linemen, and how you guys are like, I can't wait to bust somebody up right now, right? And yet, if you are too high, what is going to happen to you? You know what I'm talking about here, right? You're trying to get somebody so badly that you play so hard that, they take advantage of you because you're going so hard at them. Or you're not balanced when it's time that you get blocked instead of blocking them. You can go on and on with every sport. The power sometimes gets us in trouble. Sometimes the stronger we are, we don't want to get so hyped up that we are getting ourselves in a position to fail, putting ourselves in a position to fail. So, height number is, the more emotionally intense a person is, I'm pretty emotionally intense, the higher your height number on a scale of 1 to 10. I'm an 8. That's pretty high on the scale. Okay? The more reserved person will have a height number that is lower. Remember Reggie Riley? Reggie played at 4. He was not emotional like I was. He didn't have to be. He was at his best when he was at 4. Like, he was a real laid-back guy. When he stepped between the lines, he got to his 4 and he stayed at his 4. And listen to me, here's maybe one of the most important things I can tell you today. Every one of us in here will get over our height number. Every one of us will do it. The ones that are the most successful, the people you see playing on television, getting paid to play the game, they are the best in the world at getting back to their ideal height number after they've gone over. Tiger Woods, back in the day when he dominated, guess what? He's getting ready to start to dominate again. He's back. He's bleeding after day 1 yesterday. You know what he was number 1 at? He was number 1 in the world. Because I remember, like, Tiger Woods is one intense guy. You see it out there. He makes a bad shot. You can see it immediately on his body language, right? He was the best in the world, and after he got a bogey, of getting a birdie. He was number 1 in the world. So he had the greatest ability when he went over his height number to get back by the time he stepped on the next tee box to his ideal height number, and next thing you know, he's getting a birdie. He was the best in the world at it. Yeah, he's talented. Man, a lot of people are talented. It's about your emotional state when you're in the moment. You have to be able to recognize where you are, whether you're over or whether you're under. You leaders in this, and I've talked about this before, but this is the number 1 thing that I see, is that if you athletes are depending upon your coaches to motivate you every day to play hard and to be plugged in, I promise you, you will not go where you need to go this season. If you are a team that is player-led and has leaders on your team that will hold each other accountable and not always depend upon your coach to motivate you, you are a team that's going somewhere. There's got to be 1 or 2 or 3 people on every team in here that motivates their teammates, that helps their teammates, that walks between the lines, focused and ready to go, that will say to their teammates what is real. Be honest with them, not be embarrassed because, man, I hope I don't hurt somebody's feelings. See, there's a difference between saying positive things and saying the truth. Positive things is saying the truth. And that's my challenge to you guys as you go forward, is you must say the truth. You got to have leaders. Don't depend upon your coaches and your instructors to motivate you every day. All right, let me take a deep breath, get below my height number. Right? Get back to my height number, I should say. You know, when I retired, being a head basketball coach a year and a half ago, I got out of the business to to talk about what I'm getting ready to talk about. Now, those things that we just talked about are obviously really important. They're things that have changed my life. But 13 years ago, I went through severe depression at the beginning of a basketball season. And let me explain to you kind of what went down with me that particular season. As we started our practices, I can remember literally not having any confidence in what I was doing. That was not normal. Now, we all question ourselves sometimes. But I'm talking at another level. I didn't have confidence in being a head basketball coach. I didn't have confidence in being a husband. I didn't have confidence in being a father. And I didn't know why I started to have these types of thoughts. As a matter of fact, I had no idea why. I lost 30 pounds in about a 5.5-week period because I could not eat. So when the serotonin level in the brain starts to drop, it's what we call a chemical imbalance in the brain. Your body will start to react differently and start to think differently than it ever has before. And that's what I was actually going through, even though I didn't know that at the time. I can remember I would go into practice as my thoughts started to spiral out of control. I would walk into practice and I would fake it. What I mean by faking it is I would work my tail off to be focused that day, but yet I knew it simply wasn't right. And I would walk into my office after the practice and I would close my door and I would just cry. And I had no idea why I was doing that. Which made it a little bit worse each and every day because I'm thinking I'm going crazy here. For lack of a better word, I'm saying it like it is. That was my thoughts. You know, what's weird about it all is I was in my 19th year as a head coach when it happened. We had won 25 games the year before. We had been ranked in the top 20 the entire year and gone to the national tournament. I had zero pressure on me from my administration at my university. I was an alum there, and things had gone well from a basketball standpoint. My beautiful, wonderful wife over here that is with me on this trip to California, we had no issues at home. We have 2 wonderful children. You know, it was what it was. We didn't have a perfect life, but we had a good life. I didn't have reasons to be going into severe depression, I can assure you of that. And as I started to progress toward the first game of the season, it progressively got worse daily. I can remember one day I was driving from my house, and I had a 30-minute drive every day to Newman University where I work. And it was so bad that final week that I was thinking to myself, you know, maybe I just ought to drive 20 miles an hour to that telephone pole over there and just do away with this. That's a hard thing for me to stand in front of you and tell you. Because that is not a normal thought. That is a thought of somebody that has had a major chemical imbalance in their brain. That is a thought of somebody that needs to get help. I tell you like it is today because I know beyond a shadow of a doubt the struggles that are in our society, the struggles that you guys feel each and every day. Not all of you are going to be in depression. Statistics say this. Statistics say that 1 in 4 of you will go through some type of depression in your lifetime. I'm here to tell you that statistic is not even close. I've been doing this for 13 years now in regards to speaking openly about my story. And I'm here to tell you it's at least 2 out of 4, and it may be 3 out of 4. If it's not going to affect you personally, I'm talking about you going through it, you're going to know somebody in your family or have a close friend that you are going to have the opportunity to help, either yourself or that person. It will affect almost all of us sitting in here at one point in time or another. That season finally led up to 3 days prior to our first game. It was on Saturday. And I lived in a small community outside of Wichita, Kansas. And I remember we always brought our team out there once a year. We would practice at the local high school, and then we would go eat pizza and bowl. We would have a team bonding activity. Once a year we did it. Every year before we started games. And I was standing at my sink that day, getting ready trying to figure out a way to walk out of the house and go to practice. And I was just, tears were rolling down my face. And obviously by this time my wife had started to recognize that I had a lot of struggles, a lot more than the normal stress that I usually had in a basketball season. My wife, who I've been married to now for 4 years, I started calling my wife, by the way, when I was in 7th grade. She's my only girlfriend ever. Yeah. You know, here's how I like to describe that. I describe that as, I was a recruiter for 19 years at the college level. I just started recruiting when I was in 7th grade, and I got me an all-world player right there. You guys hear me? Yeah, give her a big hand if you would. But my wife was also in denial, and she is the, bar none, most real person that I've ever met in my entire life. She is never going to hold anything back. She's always going to say it like it is. Every now and then she gets over her hype number, and I have to calm her down a little bit. But seriously speaking, my wife always says it like it is. Even my wife was in denial that I had major problems going on until this day. And then she realized I couldn't even hide it from my wife anymore. So I never cried in front of my team, in front of anybody else. I would go into the private areas, my office or at home, and then I just couldn't handle life anymore. And my wife was recognizing that, and she said to me, "You want me to take you to practice?" And I said, "I don't know. No, I think I can figure out a way to get out of here and go to practice." And I wiped it all up. I found a way to walk out. I went to fake it in practice. I lied to my team, told them I couldn't bowl because I had a back problem, but what I really had was severe depression, and I was so sick. And that day, my wife says that I came home and I sat in my chair and I cried the entire day. And that night, I had to go to scout a team. It was an hour drive. My wife says to me, "Do you want me to take you to scout this other team?" My wife never went with me to scout anybody. She didn't go with me to recruit. She would only go with me if there was a huge shopping mall right beside the same city. And then she'd go with me. She'd go shopping while I went and did my work. But I finally looked at my wife. I was so desperate. I said, "Yeah, I need you to take me tonight." She took me up there. We walked into the facility, and she saw me. And she said, "Mark, meet this guy. He's the dad of one of my colleagues." And I walked over there, and I shook his hand. I didn't carry on a conversation because I wasn't capable of carrying on a conversation. She got really upset with me. She's like, "Wow, what's wrong with you? What's going on with you?" I couldn't give her an answer. I didn't have an answer. All I knew was that I was really sick. I just wanted to go all the way up to the highest part of that facility and not talk to anybody so that I didn't have to make any decisions because I wasn't capable of making any decisions. And that's when she knew. She got on the horn and she started calling the doctors. She called my athletic director. She called my assistant coaches. And she said, "Mark's not going to be there on Monday." And she came to me on Monday after she took care of setting up this doctor's appointment. And she said, "We got a 1 o'clock appointment today." She said, "We're going to start up immediately. So we're going to leave here at 12:30. And I looked at my wife and I said, "I am not going and you can't make me." Well, that didn't go over too well. My wife said, "Oh, you're going to the doctor." She said, "Well, I got to go get your 6'8", 280-pound assistant basketball coach, have him come over here and pick you up out of that chair, put you in that car. We're going to the doctor." Needless to say, I went to the doctor that day. I always get emotional when I tell you that part of the story because see, if my wife would have taken no for an answer that day, I wouldn't be standing here talking. Like, she was not going to take no for an answer. Like, it was, once she made up her mind, we are going to go get help no matter what. And so, I've said a lot of things today, but there is the number one thing that I want all of you to take away from this is that I'm standing in front of you talking about this very subject, this difficult subject to talk about, this great stigma that our society has about mental health and mental illness, because so many people don't know what to do. I didn't know what to do. I'm guilty. I was the guy that says, "I'm not going to tell anybody that. I'm a guy, man. I'm a head coach. I'm a father. I'm a husband. I'm not supposed to show weakness." And what I've learned throughout this last 13 years is that I've learned that talking about this very subject, about going to get help, is showing incredible strength. And you know why it shows incredible strength to go get the kind of help that you need? Because if you aren't who you need to be, then how are you going to perform academically? in your sport, in your life, up in your potential. If there's a chemical imbalance in your brain, that medication or counseling or both can fix and will fix. There is hope. 95% of people that take medication or counseling or both, when they go get help and go back to their normal life. I'm here to tell you, believe it or not, this is my normal. And it feels great to feel great. The doctors that day told me I had to stay home. And I had to take my medication, and I had to go to counseling. And I was there the first 3 weeks. I was so sick that I didn't watch TV, didn't read the paper, didn't do anything. And it takes 4 to 6 weeks before the medication fully kicks in. So in the third week, I got up one day and I started to feel a little bit better, just a little bit. I thought, I'm going to check my emails. I went and checked my emails. There was a lot of them in there. So I hadn't checked them in a long time. And one of them stuck out to me. The sports writer from the Wichita Eagle, the one that covered our team. And he said, hey, Coach Potter, I'm going to be the first one to interview you as to why you haven't been with your team when you get back with your team. And I replied and I said, I'm not talking to you or anybody else. And I sent it. And then my wife came home, I showed her the email, we talked about it. And I honestly, up until that day, I honestly believed I was on that. I didn't know other people struggled like I was struggling. I didn't know there were other people that had the same issues that I had. And we discussed that, and we decided, you know what? So I called up that reporter, and I said, listen, when I get back with my team, I'll tell you everything. So I told him everything I'm telling you today. I was honest, I was up front. And that article came out in the paper, and I just got inundated with emails and phone calls. I estimate over 400 people contacted me in 48 hours, over half of which I didn't even know who they were, just all saying, thank you for putting the word out there, Coach. And then I got a letter from a 17-year-old boy from a school just outside of Wichita. And he said in that letter, he said, Coach Potter, you don't know me. He said, but I cut your article out of the paper. And he said, I read a little piece of it before I would go to school because I could relate to everything that you were talking about in that article. He said, after one really difficult night, he said, I finally had to tell my mom and dad what I was going through. And they took me to the doctor and we got help. And he said, Coach Potter, thanks for saving my life. And that was the day that I knew that when I went through all of that stuff and I was asking, why me, that I understood and recognized there's a huge issue in our society, and I've got a job to do. And that very letter that that young man wrote me stays on my desk. It has for 13 years to remind me to do my work each and every day. And so I'm here before you today talking very openly about a subject that is a huge stigma in our society. I'm just about there. You know, there are more people in the mainstream that are now talking about this subject. DeMar DeRozan of the Toronto Raptors was the first NBA player that actually started to talk about his own issues and what he'd been going through. And then Kevin Love followed from the Cleveland Cavaliers. He started talking about his issues as well. You know, but with this knowledge, I still need to share with you that death by suicide is the second leading cause of death in the United States of young people ages 15 to 24. I was getting a lot more athletes through the years, these last few years of the struggle. You know, a few months ago, Kate Spade, the famous designer of handbags, died by suicide. This past January, Jeff, starting quarterback for the Washington State University football team, took his own life. Drug and alcohol addiction is part of mental health. You know, Demi Lovato has been open about her struggles and had a recent relapse with a drug overdose. In the state where I come from, back to a legendary football coach that's about 80 years of age. His name is Coach Bill Snyder. He's the head football coach at Kansas State University. His 22-year-old grandson took his life in the last 4 months. A 5th grade student at a small Catholic school where I come from took their own life just a few months ago. You know, I have an excerpt here from an actual suicide note. This note was extremely long, so this is just a small portion of it, but it speaks volumes. I want you to listen to what this man had to say before he took his life. The heading of this paragraph says, "It hurts." He said, "It's amazing that society cannot spot the affirmed and the ill. Lord, help me. Lord, help others similarly affected. There are lots of other people who need help." His last 3 words, he said, "Society, wake up." The man that wrote that happened to be a junior college coach in the state of California, community college coach. It was a few years ago now. But his words spoke so loudly to me. And I feel like I need to carry the torch so that nobody else will do what he did. That we'll all be able to take that first step and say, you know what, it's okay to go get help. It's okay to make sure that we take care of our business or to take care of our friends or our family. It's okay. There is strength in doing that. It's not weakness. On that same page, he had a bunch of words just all over the page. Here were the words that he had all over the page. Sadness, fatigue, underactivity, no appetite, anguish, disinterest, low energy, hopeless, no concentration, passive, worthless, helpless, isolation, low self-esteem, down, biochemical. I talked about the chemical imbalance in the brain. You know, if you have a broken arm or a broken leg or you're a diabetic, you're going to go to the doctor, you're going to go get help, aren't you? Every single time. When somebody gets injured in sports, you go to the trainer immediately. You let the trainer take a look at you. But when we struggle with mental issues, we don't want anybody to know. I'm guilty of that, but I'm here to tell you it's okay to let somebody know, number one. And number two, when you take that first step and actually step out there and actually go get you help or your friend help or your family member help, it will save lives. It will truly save lives. I'm opening up my phone, and I've got about 1 minute left here, maybe 2. And this is almost daily, I get something from somebody. I got this on LinkedIn this morning. An old friend of mine back in the Wichita, Kansas area. Here's what he said. He said, Coach, the work you do is so important. He said, yesterday they found the body in Andover of my cousin who went missing on Tuesday. Only 49 years of age. He was an attorney here. Left 4 amazing kids and a beautiful wife. He said, keep running to win, Coach. Keep running to win. Your message of hope saves lives. Be encouraged. And I want you guys to be encouraged today. I've said a lot of things in a short period of time, but I'm so passionate about taking this journey and continuing this journey all throughout the United States and wherever it calls for my wife and I to go. And you guys can help us. Truly, you can help us in this journey that we're in.